You're listening to WTIM, your information station. It's time now for your expanded local news. A man was rescued Tuesday evening after becoming trapped in a grain bin near Illinois Route 16 and Ullman Road. The Nokomis Area Fire Protection District says the man was surrounded by corn and unable to free himself. Others at the scene attempted to help, but were unsuccessful. Multiple fire departments and emergency agencies responded, including teams from Witt, Pana, Fillmore, Farmersville, Wagner, and Springfield's Technical Rescue Team. Air Methods, helicopter, and Montgomery County EMA also assisted on the scene. Rescuers spent about an hour and a half cutting relief holes in the bin to remove grain before finally freeing the victim. He was first taken by ambulance, then airlifted for medical treatment. No emergency personnel were hurt during the rescue. The Nokomis Fire District thanked all agencies and even local farmers who assisted in their efforts. The national tussle over congressional district maps continues. The state legislature in Texas has passed a new map, which is expected to benefit Republicans for next year's midterm elections. Meanwhile, efforts in California and New York are underway to boost Democrats' House numbers in response. The congressional districts in Illinois have come under spotlight, though they are not likely to change before the next census. Dr. Kent Redfield is a professor emeritus of political science at the University of Illinois Springfield. He expects leaders in more states to join the effort to change their district maps to benefit their own parties.
Yeah, there's been talk in terms of on the Democratic side, New York particularly, but Massachusetts, then there's been some discussion of Ohio and Indiana. We're talking about three states here that there's either Democratic governor and Democratic legislature or Republican governor or Republican legislature with a partisan process like you have in Illinois or Texas. And so we could still see more changes. And while Illinois has primaries that are, early in the spring, you could be making changes in other states, next spring because their primaries wouldn't be until the summer or in some states, the early fall. So this is going to be a very fluid situation.
A nonpartisan organization, Fair Maps Illinois, is pushing to introduce an amendment to the state constitution. It would delegate congressional district boundary drawing to an independent commission appointed by the legislature. This is one of the few ways in which the state constitution allows for a citizen-led amendment initiative.
Sure. So you can amend the state constitution through a citizens initiative that changes the languages, the structure and process of the legislature. So there's a very limited citizens initiative. You can't make laws or you can't have a citizens petition to amend the Constitution except in this one narrow incident. And so you've got a group that is trying to gather petitions to put a proposal on the ballot that would change the process, but it wouldn't take effect again until after the federal census in 2030 for the 2032 election. So this is not an immediate thing.
Away from maps, President Donald Trump has announced plans to deploy troops to a number of cities across the country. Chicago is among those cities. Trump's effort is similar to what he has brought out in Washington, D.C., but Dr. Redfield and other experts say he does not have the same authority elsewhere.
Now, this is a very different situation than what's happened in Washington, D.C., because the National Guard is controlled by the president. There's no governor. That's a federal jurisdiction. And so, and the president essentially can, temporarily even take over the police force in Washington, D.C. So it's a very different situation than when you're talking about states. States have governors. They control the National Guard. And cities or creatures of the state. Chicago is part of Illinois, and so this gets to be a battle over exactly how much power the federal government has, and can they identify in some kind of emergency that you can use the federal power.
The president has on multiple occasions across both terms now considered invoking the Insurrection Act of 1807 to make this deployment. This could lead to the federal courts having their say on whether he is allowed to invoke said law.
Yeah, I think the federal courts have to weigh in terms of, exactly when can you use the Insurrection Act as an exception to the Posse Comitatus Act. I mean, we have done this. We had urban riots in the 60s where the governors requested federal troops. We have situations where Mississippi refused to enforce federal law to integrate the University of Mississippi, and President Kennedy federalized the National Guard to essentially integrate the University of Mississippi, because the state government was, violating the civil rights of the students that they were trying to admit to the University of Mississippi.
Governor J.B. Pritzker has claimed that President Trump's potential deployment of troops to Chicago would be an abuse of his power. More information on UIS's political science program is available at uis.edu/SPIA. Dr. Kent Redfield appeared as a guest on the WTIM Morning Show. State Representative Reagan Deering of Decatur has introduced legislation that would change how tuition and financial aid benefits are handled for non-citizens in Illinois' public colleges and universities. House Bill 4097 aims to ensure that non-citizens do not receive tuition rates or financial aid benefits that are greater than those available to U.S. citizens. The measure is intended to prevent situations where out-of-state students from neighboring states pay higher costs than some non-citizens under current policy as it is today. Supporters of the proposal argue that it is designed to restore fairness in higher education funding and also to align state practices with federal law. Opponents of similar measures in the past have noted that they can impact access to higher education for immigrant and undocumented students. The bill is currently filed in the Illinois House of Representatives. More information is available at ilga.gov. This will conclude the first portion of your expanded local news, and it's brought to you by First National Bank of Taylorville.
I'm James Kirk, Vice President at First National Bank in Taylorville. I get it, switching banks sounds like a chore, but we make it easy. I've helped people and businesses move their accounts with less hassle than they've expected and more personal service than they've ever gotten before. We've been here for nearly 70 years, a true community bank that's not going anywhere. If you're ready to make a change, we're ready to help. First National Bank in Taylorville, first every time for nearly 70 years. Member FDIC.
The Findlay Police Department is bringing back a well-known program to keep young people off of drugs. While today's adults may be familiar with the DARE initiative, the department wants to take it a step further. Their aim is not just to eliminate youth drug use, but also for their lessons to help people make good decisions in all kinds of life situations. This is a notable undertaking for a village with a 3-figure population and a police department with just one full-time patrol officer. As Findlay's police chief, Josh Ekus, is spearheading the effort to restart the DARE program in the village. He says this iteration will be much less lecture-based and more practical for kids who take part.
A lot of people remember DARE from years ago. The older program was more lecture-based, where officers came in and talked to kids, mostly about drugs and alcohol. So the new DARE is completely different. We're still learning on the new DARE program because we haven't been fully educated yet. We'll be going to school for that here soon. So from my understanding, it's more evidence-based and very interactive. So instead of just telling students don't do this, it teaches them real-life skills in decision-making and how to handle peer pressure. I feel like as the police chief and as a father, I believe bringing the DARE program back to our schools is one of the most meaningful steps that we can take for our children in our community. It's not just about keeping kids away from drugs. It's about giving them skills and confidence to make positive choices throughout their lives.
Chief Ekus will be the DARE officer and will be the one visiting 5th grade classes to run the sessions. The course and instructor training are both drawn-out processes to ensure that they meet their goals.
Being a small department like we are, I've chosen to go ahead and be that DARE officer because I plan on being at the department for many years, and it's a big investment for the community. So actually in 2 weeks, I'll be going to Missouri for training for 2 weeks straight. And it's a very intense training. It's not just one that you can go to and they give you a certificate and you're good to go. They told us it's very intense where people fell. Yeah, so the program's like 16 weeks, and you do it once a week. And so the class will be about an hour or two long. And so 16 weeks. And then we do like a graduation ceremony to where the kids kind of like get their diploma for DARE and show that their commitment. They're gonna have some commitments moving forward.
The program has been fully funded. Donations from the public, including through fundraising events, will allow the police department to run the courses. In addition, a grant has helped finance the 2-week training program.
So I'm happy to say that this program has been 100% donations. We have currently raised $7,000 for this program. We had the spaghetti dinner, and that was sponsored by Tailwinds, Decatur Pawn and Jewelry, and Rosie and Earls in Findlay. They sponsored the spaghetti dinner. And out of that one, I want to say we raised around $4,000. Wow. We've had a lot of donations from the community, and we really appreciate that. We have more than enough to get this program going and keep it for many years. We ended up getting a grant for for my training. The training was $1,000, and there was a grant available that paid for my hotel cost and everything to be there. So it's really just going to be fuel. And so a lot of this money is going to be more utilized for the students, getting DARE supplies and stuff for them. So this just makes the program last even longer.
The DARE program is not the only one the Findlay Police Department is involved in. They also help those who are battling drug addiction and find fun ways to connect with the community that they serve.
Yeah, we currently partner with the Taylorville Police Department with our Safe Passage program. This is a program that Taylorville started in 2019, and they've actually helped over 1,200 citizens. So what this is if you're a drug addict or an alcoholic, what you could do in our area is you could reach out to me or one of my officers and request safe passage, and we would contact the Taylorville Police Department, and we could get you help started within 48 hours because we're changing the way law enforcement views addiction because we see it as a disease, not a crime. We want you to get help. And then we also have our Operation Juice Box program. It's a non-for-profit organization. So what we do is when we're out on patrol, we hand out juice boxes to the children. So our goal here is to break down the barriers and develop relationships with these youth to show a positive image of law enforcement. And there's times where we'll stop at the park and play basketball with them as well. We just want them to know they can always come to us if they need anything.
More information on the Findlay Police Department is available on their Facebook page. Police Chief Josh Ekus appeared as a guest on the WTIM Shelbyville Morning Show. Property tax bills for Sangamon County are due by Friday, September 5th, marking the final deadline for the 2025 payment cycle. Bills were first mailed out in April, giving residents several months to complete said process. Any payment that arrives or is postmarked after the due date will face late fees, making it important for taxpayers to complete their payments on time. Residents have several options to make payments. The county encourages taxpayers to use the free e-check service available at tax.sangamonil.gov. Payments can also be mailed to the Sangamon County Treasurer at P.O. Box 19400 at Springfield, Illinois 62794. In-person payments are accepted at any INB, formerly known as Illinois National Bank Lobby or drive-through location in Sangamon County. Taxpayers should bring their payment stub to receive a receipt. For those paying by credit or debit card, a link to the Illinois e-payment system can also be found on the Treasurer's website. Payments can also be made by phone at 888-834-3729. It is noted that car payments will be including a convenience fee. More information is available at tax.sangamonil.gov or by emailing treasurer@sangamonil.gov. Questions about assessed values, multipliers, or exemptions should be directed to 217-753-6805. With a busy travel weekend in the books, gas prices could see a deep discount come Thanksgiving for drivers across the state. For drivers hitting the road during Labor Day, prices were the cheapest at the pump since they had been on Labor Day of 2020. However, Patrick DeHaan, the head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy, reports prices could even dip as much as 30 cents a gallon. According to DeHaan, prices could also drop when refineries switch to a cheaper winter blend of fuel. Typically, refineries do switch to the winter blend in mid-September or October. Moving now to obituaries, which can be found at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com and are brought to you by Sutton Memorial Home. This is Chad Sparks.
When a loved one passes, grieving family members and friends often are confronted with dozens of decisions about the funeral arrangements. Sutton Memorial Homes in Taylorville and Nokomis have been helping families in the area for over 55 years with these often difficult decisions. They offer pre-planning, traditional funerals, and cremation. Austin and the staff at Sutton Memorial Homes' goal is to make your family's transition easier in their time of need. Sutton Memorial Homes, where caring is what they do best.
89-year-old Sister Jenna Rose Beckler of the Adorers of the Blood of Christ died on August 29th. Visitation is September 5th from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Benedictine Living Community Chapel. The Mass of Christian Burial will be on September 5th at 1:30 p.m. at the chapel. Burial will be at ASC Cemetery in Ruma. Paula J. Koonsman of Shelbyville, formerly of Warrensburg, will have arrangements made at a later date, with a celebration of life being planned for October 12th of 2025. Funeral arrangements are being handled by Howe and Yawkey Funeral Home in Shelbyville. '89-year-old Betty E. Allen of Taylorville died on August 15th. Visitation is September 6th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at McClure Funeral Home in Taylorville. Memorial service will be September 6th at 11 a.m. at McClure Funeral Home in Taylorville. Interment will be at Oak Hill Cemetery. Cremation rights have been accorded, and funeral arrangements are being handled by McClure Funeral Home in Taylorville. 58-year-old Randall or Randy Lee Pertalar of Peoria, formerly of Taylorville, died on August 21st. Memorial visitation is September 20th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. at McClure Funeral Home in Taylorville. Memorial service will be on September 20th at 11 a.m. at McClure Funeral Home in Taylorville. Interment will be at Glen Haven Memorial Gardens. And 82-year-old Shirley Louise Sullivan of Pana died on August 27th. Visitation is September 4th from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. at McCracken Dean Funeral Home in Pana. Funeral service will be September 4th at 10:30 a.m. at St. Patrick's Catholic Church in Pana. Interment will be at Calvary Cemetery. Funeral arrangements are being handled by McCracken Dean Funeral Home in Pana. Get details on these and other local news stories at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com or on WTIM. WTIM is your only local news radio.